Hello, traders. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Monday, the 1st of June, 2020. Welcome to June. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This is episode number 1766. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Hopefully, after all of these years, we've been doing this a long time, as indicated by the episode number. Hopefully, you're still picking up something here or there, at least enjoying the company of everybody else that's here. Let's take a look at what's happening today. What's happening? So, other than riots, looting, and burning down of buildings and things like that, I would say we're doing pretty good. It's the market's trading right at 33 in the S&P, right in the middle of Friday's range. Many expected that we would fall this morning due to the unrest that we've seen here, especially in the U.S. Um, and it's holding up pretty good. Yet another thing that is not responding to what the market believes it should, or what participants believe it should. The leader this morning is the DAX. The DAX is up 1.21%, trading at 11,743. The Euro stocks follow suit, up 90.92%. The cables up 0.6%. The Russell is actually the only leader in the U.S. products, up $1.90, trading at 1394.70, up 0.14%, very close to unchanged. And then the rest are all below the zero line, or the settlement line, with crude being weakest. Crude walking itself back towards that 34.46 area, the key area. Crude is trading at 34.98 in the July contract, down 50 cents or 1.4%. So I would say that it's a mixed bag this morning. Slight risk off sentiment. We did have some pretty erratic movement on Friday, heavy volume and range and rotations into Friday's close, with the rally into the close on what was in the S&P a neutral extreme up day. We would expect follow through to the weekly high of 30.65.50 following that, but the overnight session shows that it only took out the high by a tick and has fallen back into the range. We'll go over that in a minute. So that's what we have. That's how things are setting up. It really is a mixed bag, to a slight lean to safety in terms of risk allocation today. So we're coming in with that in mind. In terms of releases, it's there was quite a bit, but nothing to really be concerned about. The U.S. has a few releases coming up. We do have the market manufacturing PMI final for May coming in at 15 minutes after the open, expecting 39.8. ISM manufacturing at 10 o'clock Eastern, expecting um, 34. Manufacturing prices expecting 36. Construction spending at the same time expected at negative 6.5. And ISM manufacturing PMI expected at 43.6. The ISM manufacturing PMI may be a mover. And then other than that, there's really not much else to report. The RBA out of Australia releases its rate decision today. That happens at half past midnight Eastern US time. But other than that, not much is scheduled for today. Let's move on quickly into the review segment of what was expected on Friday. Remember, Friday we had this 30-20 area, very important area, and the market happened to be set up on top of it during the trader bite. I highlighted here, or I circled it in green. It's that low volume node that separates the upper distribution from the lower distribution. I'm basically redrawing the same thing I have up here. And the expectation is that we are likely to pop higher, be responsive, pop higher on the open, fall below. I expected it to fall below that 3020 and explore down into 29.97. So as you see here, looking for a push higher and then expected it to rotate down, consolidate at that 20 again, break down into the 3008, fall through the 3000 and get down into 29.97. But I expected it back at the MC point of control of 3011 at least on Friday. I expected to pop into the close. Here's what happened. I just was not aggressive enough with that scenario. Wow, this is a really noisy chart because it was very busy on Friday. We did 1.79 million contracts in the RTH session, which is pretty heavy given that it's not rollover. And what we ended up doing is just that. We opened we opened at 3021. Remember, we expected the open to be around 3020, so just within a point or so. And then we were responsive immediately. We pushed right back up. I expected it to come up here. It did not. Expected it to 38 for a test of this high volume node. It did not make it. And then it rolled over. So an open auction, push up, break down below the prior day's low, move into the 97, and it pushed to 92. There was a little flush here. And then it came back into that 3021 area. Remember that's basically what scenario one. This is scenario one on the dot. Essentially, we did push beyond, but you can see the tail on this candlestick. This was all news based. And then we move on and we get even more turbulence, more news, more input, more talkers, more yapping mouths, and whether it's the Fed or POTUS or somebody, and then the market rallies. And what we did on Fridays, we broke the IB low right here, the initial bounce, the first hour's low, and then we broke the IB high, and then we finished at the top of the range. We finished at the top of the range at 3050, near 3055. We finished at 3053 something. The close actually was 3054 and a quarter. And what that tells us is the market has tested cleanly and clearly tested below the low of Thursday, right here, below the low, had excess lows both times on both flushes, and has closed on an extreme, neutral extreme up. This is quite bullish. Okay, this is quite bullish. The delta was below zero a lot of the session, and it hovered above zero, and then it crossed above and remained above and moved with price versus Thursday's delta, which was divergent. Thursday's delta was, even though price kept moving up, the delta could not maintain above zero from the open. But Friday really saw some follow through, and this, barring anything holding this back, any news, there's a press conference that was just called on my news feed about 5 minutes ago, or 10 minutes ago, for at the White House, a press conference at 2 p.m. Eastern. POTUS has more to say. It doesn't state what the subject matter will be, but if barring anything holding it down, this is likely to fight its way back up here. So I would caution shorts at this point. I know people are just seeing all this crazy stuff going on and are wondering how this market could be holding these prices, but it is, and therefore we just follow along. In terms of the overall picture, this is the composite chart. This is each bar represents a day session, an RTH session, and you could see that we moved from the all-time high of 3382.50 to the recent low of 2179. 1,200 plus points. And then we came back, we took out the mid of this session, of this rotation. We took out the 62% and we are pushing, we are chugging along. We're above the 200 SMA, and we are really chugging along. And to me, it doesn't seem like there's the market really cares about this bearish news. It's really pricing in higher and higher prices. We have pushed through the mid and the 62%. So this move down here has been somewhat negated technically, in my opinion. Now, looking at the overnight session, we had a decent squeeze down right at the open, and then it consolidated and then held pretty well. There's a lot of order flow kind of flipping and spoofing and things like that, spoofing looking things. But overall, it's held above the mid and has migrated all the way across from 30.88 all the way to 30.55 and a quarter. Took out Friday's high by a tick. And so what we have is, but it's a weak high. What we have is a failed auction above Friday's high, and then we had sellers come in, and this selling occurred on news that there are reports that China is set to stop importing some U.S. soybeans as U.S.-China tensions increase. So this is seen by the market as a first move by China to fight back on this trade war. Believe it or not, we're back in trade war territory here. This is quite amazing, as if it's just not messy enough. We're opening the trade war back up and putting that on the front line. And then so the market sold off pretty good. I mean, from 30.50 to about 30.20.50, it sold off very quickly, and we have been holding steady in the middle. The point of control is right on top of VWAP, just above the mid, and so the market has been in balance. We've tested down, we've tested up. We do have a weak high versus an excess low. This is a clear excess low. Look at how beautiful that is. As prices went down, volume dropped off very rapidly. And to me, that low looks relatively strong. That coupled with these wicks and these excess lows, again, Friday excess low, as prices moved down, there was just no interest from sellers to participate there. So there was very little trading in terms of volume, and the market pushed back up. Same thing today. To me, this, given any excuse, this is likely to shoot up. This is likely to shoot up and continue higher. So that's the overnight session. The delta is somewhat positive in the overnight session. We're just about at the open of the overnight session, and that's where we stand there. Looking at the order flow, so here's the China news. The China news all the way over here, and you could see the drop. It basically took out whatever little liquidity you could find. There's collisions along the way, but there was, uh, you know, replaying the overnight session, you could see that somebody was looking for a fill higher, moving their orders, their stack right above, so they can get this little stack filled right here. And as soon as that stack gets filled right there and there, the orders are canceled. So there's just a lot of jimmying around in the overnight session until it got to the prior day's high, which had good liquidity on it, and and it ate up that liquidity, traded through, and then paused, and it looked like it was kind of faltering for a pullback to at least 30.45, and then the news came out and pushed everything right through. And now we're sitting in the middle with kind of our hands up in the air, waiting to see what the next play is. Currently, the order flow shows that liquidity is sitting on the edges. So you can see that liquidity is just staying out of harm's way. We do have a little bit of liquidity up at 30.75. I think from here, the next big area I was able to identify I was able to identify as around 3124, I think, or 25. It's pretty much clear sailing to 3100 from here if it can stay above, push through this 3055 and stay above there, which we did last week. Remember, last week's high is 30, 65, 50 or so. So more liquidity down below. Same familiar levels, 30-20, 30-20 in play still. This is still a key area. 30.08 and 30.10 still in play. 3,000 has some bids, and as I'm sure, 29.92 is likely to have a little bit. Oh, no, it doesn't. And that's how things are stacked up in the order flow coming in. So where does the order flow, where does the liquidity collide or match up with my stock zone levels? That is where I'm interested to engage. Everything else is just kind of outside my scope and is noise. Let's get back to business. The first thing I want to tell you though, I want to announce, as you may have seen on Twitter, EdgeClear and myself are hosting the Small Exchange. We have a panel of folks from the Small Exchange on a panel happening on June 9th. This is next Tuesday. Please mark your calendar, June 9th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 15 minutes after the pit close or the RTH close next Tuesday. We will be hosting the Small Exchange in a panel. They will present what their plan is, objectives, go over their products, but we're reserving a large chunk of time to discuss what they're, to allow for Q&A. So if you have questions, you'll be able to ask them live. If you have questions that you want to ask and you're not going to be live, I invite you to register using that link, which I'll drop here for you on YouTube chat. Here it is. Let's show some interest to an exchange that's designed for the online individual trader. So if you register, you will get a copy of the recording. You will not be spammed. And also, just if you have a question, you can tweet at me, twitter.com/futurestrader71. Just tweet your question and I'll add it to the list and we'll ask it. We're reserving about 25 minutes, which is half of the event, just to ask questions. So ask away. They're releasing with 3 products, the SM75, which is a stock index, a precious metals product, and an FX product to start. They also have a yield product, which is a little different than an interest rate product, and a kind of a micro crude basket, but it's not WTI in a micro format. It's more of a basket that contains a blend, which I think potentially provides um, a little more diversity than WTI does. In either case, I'm gung ho about this exchange, and I welcome this event. And it's there are no data fees. I believe there are no data fees to be charged for at least the first year. I believe maybe a couple of years. I don't remember. But these guys come from a trading background who created this, and I think I'm happy to see it go. It launches today, by the way. It's available at EdgeClear. If you're interested in seeing the products on the small exchange, just go to edgeclear.com. Okay, so let's get to work here. So what are we expecting for today? Here we are at 30.31. The low volume node of Friday, we are basically trading right in here. We're in the dividing line between where the point of control was, which, by the way, notice the point of control on Friday was right on top of that MC point of control, right? It was at 30.11, right on top of each other. Market kind of balanced out on Friday for a while, And what we have is a market that is very likely to be responsive. I'm looking for an open auction. I'm looking for it to dip in here and then push up back into the overnight point of control. And I'm looking for it to regain, to attempt to regain. Is it going to take out the high? I don't know, but it's likely to attempt to regain some of the territory that was won on Friday. And so this is what I'm looking for today. The secondary is it moves into the overnight point of control, consolidates, attempts to push higher, and then finds resistance in this 3042, potentially 3047 area, and then moves back down, consolidates, and then we come back into the point of control, the MC point of control, and the overnight low below 3021 before it makes an attempt to push back into and finish around 3021 here. That's the secondary scenario. It's opening in range, in value. I'm not looking for a drive out of here today. There's nothing, not seeing a propellant for this thing to take off. So I'm looking for it to be a grindy open after a pretty busy overnight session. Those are the two key scenarios. Good luck today. And again, don't forget to register for this webinar. MyEdge, myed.ge is the shortened link. Small exchange event, capital S, capital E, capital E. This is also listed on YouTube, and if you're on any of our lists, you should have gotten it last Friday. Good luck, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.